Welcome back, everybody, to Watcher of All Things. My name is Kiki, and this is my podcast where I talk movies, TV shows, and all things entertainment. Today, it is a very fun episode, one I've been looking forward to for a while. I know I say that every week, but I look forward to every movie and TV show. There's only some that I'm partially dreading, but today, episode 74, we're talking Materialists. Not The Materialists. For some reason, until tonight when I looked at my ticket, I thought this movie was called The Materialists. Anyways, I've been very excited for this movie. I know since that first trailer came out, people were kind of dunking on it online, saying like, oh, this looks dumb, it looks corny, it looks sincere, which God forbid we have corny movies, we have sincere movies. I was raised on corny movies, but look, I'm excited to talk about it today. I even rewatched Past Lives in preparation for this, which we'll talk about in the What Else I Watched segment. Before all that, I hope you are doing well. It is Thursday, June 12th, 9:30 p.m. I am recording this before I leave for the weekend. Before we hop into the news, of course, timestamps below. If you only want to know the non-spoiler stuff for Materialists, you can listen to the news section, then the non-spoiler section, then skip the spoiler section, go straight to What Else I Watched, because I think I watched 8 movies or 7 movies this week, 3 TV shows, and 2 comic books that I'm very excited to talk about. So it's going to be a jam-packed, very fun episode. Also, if you missed it, don't forget, ranking the Mission Impossible films and Ethan Hunt's hairstyles video is live on my YouTube. Enough messing around. Let's stay in the present. Before we hop into our movie, let's cover the news. Well, everyone, our first piece of news, not even 3 weeks after HBO Max, Max Go, HBO Go, whatever it was, changed its title again, Warner Brothers Discovery has decided to split into 2 companies. I genuinely thought this was a fake story when it came up, but Warner Brothers Discovery, according to Variety, grappling with declines in its overall business, said Monday it planned to divide the company into 2 publicly traded entities, one devoted to streaming and content production and one devoted to traditional television. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, absolute criminal, will remain as the leader of the streaming-focused entity, while Gunnar Weinfields, the company's CFO, who has been known for finding new ways to cut old costs, will lead the TV company. The separation is expected to be completed by mid-2026, subject to closing and other conditions and the bulk of current company's debt. Nearly $38 billion will be assigned to the TV entity. Holy shit, $38 billion. That is more money than I can literally imagine. Oh my God. Like, what would you do with $1 billion? That's an insane amount of money to go into debt. But anyways, a quote from Zaslav said, by operating as 2 distinct and optimized companies in the future, we are empowering these iconic brands with the sharper focus and strategic flexibility they need to compete most effectively in today's evolving media landscape. So the company is said to be emulating a strategy recently put into place by rival Comcast. That conglomerate is breaking up NBC Universal with plans to place the bulk of its cable networks in a new publicly traded spin-off called Versant, while keeping its broadcast and streaming assets under the better-known entity NBC. My God, Warner Brothers go 4 weeks without changing a name or completely restructuring the company. Challenge impossible. Like, what do you even say to that? I mean, it was the weirdest thing in the world when they merged in the first place. I mean, how many years ago was that? Was that during COVID? Maybe like 2019, 2020? Or maybe, yeah, I would say around then, because that's when, I don't know, the DCEU, that's like been a big focus of Warner Brothers' attention, I guess, is, you know, growing up during COVID and university, the DCEU projects depended so much on Warner Brothers actually having their shit together and this company not falling apart. But I'm very surprised. I mean, Warner Brothers is a disaster for real, and I think that's why Superman has to do so well this summer. If DC Studios fails and the new DC universe does not work, I think Warner Brothers will go under. I don't think they will make enough money to keep them afloat for like the next 5 years. Having said that, they have had a couple of hits this year with, well, they did Minecraft, and then did they do Sinners as well? They've had 2 really big movies this year, so it's not been all flops. But just from a business perspective, I am not a business person. I don't have any business studies or experiences, I swear. I am so base level, no knowledge on any of this stuff, but like famously in public, Warner Brothers are a goddamn mess and are doing all these tax write-offs and just like eliminating movies because they don't want to gamble, when in the first place, maybe don't let these budgets balloon and take such huge risks if you're not willing to stand by your artists. Like, and I think that's a bigger problem today with Hollywood in general, is these companies are run by CEOs, right? They're not run by artists. artists. I would say maybe only Neon and A24 are run by actual, and Mubi. Like, I think Mubi is doing a lot of really good stuff, but these like big distribution companies and film companies, I mean, the bigger ones are not run by artists. Straight up. Disney is not run by artists. Warner Brothers is not run by artists. Even Paramount is not run by artists. They are run by suits. They're run by business people. And like, fair enough, they are businesses and art is business, of course. And that's like always a disappointing thing to swallow. But at the same time, like, it does really throw me back sometimes how much these suits don't have artistic visions, or they don't have like artistic integrity, you know? Like, they are these big studio heads that really, they are not artists themselves. They do not know anything about movies or television. They are just numbers people and money people. And that's why I think the studio came out at such an interesting point with Matt wanting to be this artistic executive and head of it, like a studio head that actually wants to encourage artistic people. And it's very funny to me. And I don't know, sometimes I just get whiplash thinking about like David Zaslav and Bob Iger. I'm like, these guys know nothing about movies and they're running these massive studios just like businesses, but not like art or meaningful cultural things and entities. But anyways, who knows? I mean, we did get another Superman trailer. I wasn't going to talk about it, but like, I thought it was a fantastic trailer. It's really interesting how every trailer has sold me even more. Sure, the CGI looks a little bit goofy sometimes, but honestly, it's so comic booky and like just the pages brought to life that it looks a little goofy, and I think it's okay. Like, I love the corniness and the sort of romantic comic bookness of its Silver Age elements. The tickets went on sale this week. I bought mine for opening day at like 7 p.m. in IMAX, so I'm pumped for that. I'm definitely going to see it multiple times, but of course, I got my tickets 9 minutes after they dropped on my theater's website, and someone bought my favorite seat, J13, in the IMAX screen. I was pissed. But anyways, what I'm trying to say with the Superman tickets, and there is a reason I'm talking about this, is the pre-sales for the Superman tickets were very promising. Like, they do in the US, they have an Amazon Prime early screening thing where 3 or 4 days before, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can actually go to early screenings at your local theater. Sorry, everybody, I was killing a mosquito. But anyways, Amazon Prime. So I think they're July 7th or 8th. They're hosting the early Amazon Prime member screenings. And those sold out so quickly. Like, I was optimistic because it is Superman. I was like, you know what? I think it's going to do well. But I didn't think it would do that well. I mean, tickets coming out 30 days before the movie as opposed to Fantastic Four, which came out 50 days before the movie and did exceptionally well. Fantastic Four's ticket prices, or the ticket sales, were very good. Also got my tickets to that. But Superman is looking like it's going to have a very good, promising opening weekend. And especially if the movie is good and it has the word of mouth and people are like, oh, we'll go see this superhero movie, it could do very well. But speaking of DC, I want to move into another story. I don't want to focus on Superman and Warner Brothers. I want to move strictly into this Wonder Woman story, which is very interesting to me that James Gunn has revealed they're actually writing a Wonder Woman movie right now. And that makes me very happy, because when they said they were just doing the TV show of Themyscira, I was like, okay, like, I don't know, it could be interesting, like a Game of Thrones type thing. But I think what a lot of DC or comic book superhero fans like myself, like, these are my bread and butter. I grew up loving superhero movies, and I've really gotten into comics in the last couple years. Specifically in the last year, I've really started collecting more and getting curious about the different comic runs. But I've always been wondering, since James Gunn came on board and did that huge presentation with all of the different films and TV shows they were working on, I was like, but no Wonder Woman. Interesting. I mean, in 2020, they did Wonder Woman 84, and I just watched it this week for the very first time. I'll talk about it later, but I was like, I don't think you can start your new DC vision without the big three of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. So it's interesting that he says there is a new Wonder Woman being written right now. Is it Tom King writing it? I think a lot of people hope not, because if you don't know about Tom King, you should just look up Tom King CIA. I did not know this about him, but it's very interesting. If it's him, if it's Anna Noguera, who wrote Supergirl, but she's also working on a Teen Titans film, I believe. So I feel like that might be too much, 3 projects back to back to back for her. Maybe she wouldn't be into that, but I don't know. I've only heard promising things about the Supergirl script and the Teen Titans script that James Gunn and Peter Safran have talked about, that like they were some of the only projects that they've done so far where they read the script and it was like instantly greenlit because they thought Supergirl, the script was just so wonderful and they really wanted her to stay and work on other stuff. But look, if they can get an actual good actress to play Wonder Woman this time, it could genuinely be great. I've seen a lot of people calling for Adria Arjona and Melissa Barrera. The two of them, I think either of them would be very good choices. Are they going to go for the full 6'2" Wonder Woman? I don't I don't know, maybe. I mean, Adria Arjona and Melissa Barrera both seem very tall. So to me, what's so funny watching Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84, Gal Gadot is so stuck in her Israeli accent that they made everyone else take on the same accent as her, instead of just getting an actor that can do a British accent, a German accent, a Russian accent, an American accent, an Australian accent, anything. Like any actor that had any flexibility. I don't know. We'll talk about it in this month's YouTube video, which you can probably guess what it's going to be about, but it's just fascinating to me. I think it's a really good time if Superman does well and they immediately have a Wonder Woman story lined up and a Batman story lined up, which every day I want Pattinson to be the DCEU Batman more and more. And it's interesting that James Gunn said the other day what Matt Reeves is doing with the Batman Part 2 is very important to the DC universe. So I don't know. It's just every day more and more I want Pattinson to be the DCEU Batman. I think he can do it because look, when he started, he was going to be a young Batman and it's taken longer and there's been speed bumps along the way. But now DC Studios wants an older Batman. They want like a 40-year-old Batman that can have a Robin. And Pattinson is 38 or 39. He's 39. He's going to be 40 when they like film the Batman Part 2 if it ever happens. So I think it'll happen. I think honestly every day they're just considering, let's just take Pattinson and make him our Batman. And I'm fully on board with it. I think he could do it. In fact, James Gunn said he's already working on his next film for DC, and it's not a direct sequel to Superman, but it's sort of a sequel that involves Superman. Everyone's theorizing it's World's Finest, which is the Batman Superman stories. I would freaking love that. An actual good Batman v Superman. Look, there's parts of Batman v Superman that I like the first hour I think is actually really good, but that movie's a disaster. If we got a World's Finest movie with an actual good Batman and Superman team up and shows their friendship, I would love that. So I'm all on board with that. So far, I'm like very happy with the projects that they are announcing for DC Studios. I like the Clayface idea. I hope Andy Muschietti is nowhere near that Batman movie that they're doing, The Brave and the Bold. I think I like the general direction that they're going with DC Studios of being willing to just push projects. If it's not ready, we're not making it. Like Clayface, they haven't really announced like we're just going ahead with it. They're just keep being very public with how it's a developing thing, and I like that. And I didn't quite realize today when I was putting together all of my news stories that like 4 of these involve Warner Brothers. So here's the final James Gunn story of the week before we move on to a couple other stories I want to talk about. But in an interview with Fandango the other day, I think he was talking about post-credit scenes, and he had a super interesting take on what I think is also a big issue at Marvel. But he said Superman will have a post-credit scene. Quote, "I have a philosophy about post-credit scenes. It's somewhat related to my own mistakes in my time with Marvel." He says he's not going to have too many future-facing post-credits because they might not come to fruition. He remembers how Thor was added to the Guardians at the end of Endgame, and he didn't want that for his 3rd installment due to not knowing how to handle the character. He also says how he hated doing a Warlock post-credit scene for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and that he was lucky he was able to utilize that. So I think that's a way better approach than what Marvel has been doing recently. Like post-credit scenes at Marvel used to just be like fun little extra emotional beats at the end, and I'm always like, that was fun. Like I really like the Homecoming ones where it's like Scorpion in prison and it's like, oh yeah, the 2 villains meet each other, that's cool. And then the second one is Captain America being like patient, like that's fun. I mean, the Batman had no post-credit scenes. I'm fine with that too. Honestly, we don't need to have post-credit scenes. That's just like a treat for the fans, you know? That's like a little thing, and we've been conditioned as a society to expect it. But if DC going forward is just gonna have like little extra beats and not tease things like Hercules and Thor Love and Thunder, that's fine with me. I really like that, and I'm way more on board with that than teasing something that you aren't 100% sure you'll actually get to deliver in the future, especially when it's like a random character walking on its screen. It's like, who's really going to care about this other than extremely particular nerds about this stuff? So I think this is a better approach. Okay, on to unrelated news. Lewis Pullman has joined the Spaceball sequel, which was just announced today. And I was actually very happy today when they announced Spaceballs 2. I was like, you know what? Why not? Let Mel Brooks go back to it. They've never done one. I loved Spaceballs a lot when I was a kid. I can remember it used to play on Sci-Fi, the channel Sci-Fi when I was young, a lot, and I would watch it almost every time. I have so many movies that I've never watched as an adult, but I used to watch on TV all the time. It's kind of crazy how I just get like flashes of stuff, and that's why there's so many movies on Letterboxd that I don't have rated, because I'm like, yeah, I haven't watched them in years, but I have seen them, or I have movies like in my DVD collection that I haven't watched in forever and that I've just never rated on Letterboxd. But Spaceballs was like one of my favorite comedies when I was younger, and I love that Lewis Pullman's joining. I think he's a very funny actor too. I know he's going to be playing his son for sure. He's going to be playing his dad's son. So sources tell The Hollywood Hollywood Reporter that Lewis Pullman will play a character named Starburst, the son of Queen Vespa and Lone Star. And then franchise newcomer Keke Palmer will play a role by the name of Destiny. The two, along with Josh Gad, are the leads. Either way, I'm very excited for this. I can't wait. It's coming in 2027, I believe they said, so I will be ready for that. Mel Brooks did a very funny video today where they went through all of like the failed franchises and all the different franchises that have happened, sequels and prequels, everything since the first Spaceballs came out. What was it, like 38 years ago? That's insane. But Spaceballs 2, very excited for that. Let's jump into our final story though. Deadline are reporting Robert Eggers is writing and directing A Christmas Carol for Warner Brothers, with Willem Dafoe looking like he's going to be Scrooge. Where did this come from? Like, Robert Eggers has 4 different projects all on the go right now, or at least since Nosferatu, which, like, looking back on Nosferatu, that movie's a banger. I will be watching it again at Christmas this year, but it's kind of crazy how every project they've said, oh, this is Robert Eggers' next thing, I have been totally on board with. I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool as hell. He could do whatever he wants, like a Labyrinth sequel or whatever it is. He could do a Muppets Christmas Carol movie with Willem Dafoe. I think that's a great idea, but him doing A Christmas Carol sounds extremely creepy. I know it's going to be so immensely dark, and the ghosts of Christmas past are going to be some of the creepiest things we ever see. I think this is just genuinely a good idea. I think this is maybe a hot, I don't know, a hot opinion, or what do you call it? Hot take. That's what I'm trying to say. Jesus Christ, it's getting late. This is a hot take. I think A Christmas Carol, that's one of those stories or like franchises. It's like a lot of Shakespeare stories like Romeo and Juliet that no matter how many adaptations there are, I don't think we'll ever get tired of it. I will take as many as they give us. That's totally fine with me. Didn't Robert Zemeckis do one with Jim Carrey, right? That was Robert Zemeckis, right? I remember seeing that in theaters and I hated it because I thought it was so creepy looking. But like the Muppets one, of course, all the classics. I know every year on Christmas, there's the very old one that I love to watch because it's so sad and depressing, but this sounds really cool. I think Robert Eggers is a really unique writer and voice to put behind this story. Given like Nosferatu, he knows how to creep someone over multiple hours and days and stuff like that. So I'm happy. All right, that's all I got for the news this week. Next week, I'll try to make it less DC news or less Warner Brothers news. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize till like tonight when I was just going through my news stories right before, like, oh, it's a lot of DC news this week. But next week, maybe we'll diversify a little bit more. But as for now, timestamps below if you don't want to know any spoilers for Materialists. Just listen to the non-spoiler section. I'm just going to give you a general vibe and themes and performances and stuff like that. Then in the spoiler section, we get into the nitty-gritty. But let's do this. Let's talk Materialists. Materialists is a 2025 romantic comedy coming in at an hour 49 minutes. Nice runtime, under 2 hours. It is directed by Celine Song, Canadian filmmaker and playwright. Let's go. Of course, she did Past Lives. This is only her second film ever. That's wild to me. She wrote it, of course. She is a playwright, and she wrote and directed Past Lives as well, as I just said. Guys, that is crazy that she's done 2 films, and they are both such... Okay, well, we'll get into it. The budget was $20 million allegedly, and that's pretty all right for a star-studded New York set A24 film. Reviews are very positive, 72% on Metacritic, 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. No audience score because it's a little early. I'm recording this Thursday night, keep in mind. Letterboxd 3.6 rating average, with 4-star being the mode, so widely positive acclaim. Very nice to see. No sophomore slump for Celine Song. The synopsis for the film: a young New York City matchmaker's lucrative business gets complicated as she finds herself torn between the perfect match and her imperfect ex. The film stars Dakota Johnson as Lucy, Chris Evans as John, Pedro Pascal as Harry, Zoe Winters as Sophie, Marin Ireland as Violet, Dasha Nekrasova as Daisy. Very controversial person in real life. I really don't understand why she's in this. Emmy Wheeler as Rose, Louisa Jacobson as Charlotte, Eddie Cahill as Robert, and a bunch of other really fun supporting characters that we will get into. But let's talk Materialists. Okay, what are my initial thoughts on this film? An extremely solid romantic comedy that even gives you more than expected in some aspects. It's funny, but it's trying to say some really interesting things about modern dating in this really strange world, and with so many apps and gizmos and gadgets and stuff like that. I think there's a really interesting topic from this movie about dating and modern standards and expectations motivations and self-worth. But let's start with the performances. Dakota Johnson as Lucy. She is so freaking good in this. I'm actually a big fan of Dakota Johnson. In everything I've watched her in, I've really liked her, except Madam Web, but I think she even knew that movie was a disaster. It was never going to work, and she was probably just, that's a paycheck one. We can forget her. She's okay. She's a pretty decent Nepo baby in my books. But yes, she is very deadpan sometimes, and it can almost seem stiff at first, or it's kind of was that a little rough right there? But honestly, I think no, there's just a really serious and kind of cold, reserved nature to her that I like and I find charming. I really liked her in the movie Cha Cha Real Smooth a couple years ago. I really like that movie in general. She has a lot here that I really loved and I just want to sit with and think about because I really liked it. But let's talk about Chris Evans. Chris Evans, who admittedly I have ripped on so many times on this podcast. I have talked about Chris Evans and how he has just stopped caring about his career the last few years. Let's look at Chris Evans' recent projects, okay? Since Endgame in 2019, which I feel like a lot of people consider when his career really took a dive, I would say Knives Out and Defending Jacob. A lot of people like that TV show he was in, but Knives Out is really the only movie that has done well or that he is good in. So he has done Lightyear, The Gray Man, Ghosted, Pain Hustlers, Deadpool and Wolverine. He has a cameo type thing, Red One, and he is also in the new Ethan Coen film Honey Don't, which I saw has kind of mixed reviews. But look, this is easily, other than Knives Out, his best performance since 2019. I would say since Endgame, where a lot of people like myself feel like he really fell off and it seemed like he just sort of took a real break in his career. But look, he's fantastic in this. I think Chris Evans, like Dakota Johnson, knocks it out of the freaking park. He is such a flawed ex-boyfriend and he plays off the dynamics of Pedro Pascal and Dakota Johnson so well the entire time. I was seriously riveted with him. Also, very good hair. His haircut in this, top notch, looks really great. Honestly, I'm so happy for him. I hope he gets more projects like this where he can really dive deep. Guys, Chris Evans is a good actor. He did Snowpiercer. He did Knives Out. He was in Danny Boyle's Sunshine. He is not a bad actor by any means. He's in Scott Pilgrim. He can do lots of different stuff. He's just gone for really paycheck focused things in the last few years, in my opinion. And I'm happy that he took this, a really good script, and he really runs away with it. And I absolutely love it. And now I want to give my flowers to Pedro Pascal as Harry. I think he's so good. He's so charming in this and he's so loving. And he's playing this rich guy, but he feels so accessible and honest and really in stride with Dakota Johnson's character, Lucy. I really loved all three of them in this movie. I think they do so well. And a lot of people from the trailers were like, oh my God, I see no chemistry between them all. But it really does feel so fleshed out in the movie. And it's just gorgeous to watch. And it's nice to experience. And I really loved the characterizations that they went with for these people. And that comes from Celine Song, who we'll talk about in a second. But the other cast members, there's John Magaro shows up again in this. Of course, he was in Past Lives. He plays a guy named Marcus in this film. But I have to say, it's a really stellar cast, and all the supporting cast members that are playing Dakota Johnson's clients in the film are really good as well. I love all of the little quirky people that she meets, and it's a lot of fun, and everyone really does deliver. But let's jump into the story. Past Lives has such a beautiful, romantic, lovely story, but I think this one is also extremely layered. I think it's a very relevant story right now. How many people, I don't have experience with this because I've been with my girlfriend since the 10th grade in high school, so I don't know what modern dating is like, but I think a lot of people are screaming into the void of how kind of ruthless it is, and that's what I get from a lot of friends too. They say it's honestly heartless sometimes, and people are just looking for someone created in a lab for them, or they'll just ghost you because they can, and the internet makes it easily. So I think this is a very important story to have right now, and I think a lot of people are going to find comfort in it. And also it's a very self-confronting story, a confrontational story, but for yourself. It really does make you look inward and what you're looking for in a partner, and are those things selfish? Are they true? What are you actually looking for, and what's worth fighting for in your relationships? And I just think, I'm sure Celine Song, she puts herself into her stories. Past Lives, there's so much about her that you can see in that, or you would assume that's herself in that. And it's so funny that her husband is the Justin Kurwakez, who wrote Challengers. What a power couple, first of all. But look, the story here is just really beautiful. I loved it a lot, and it does really take some darker twists twists or some darker story beats that I was not expecting. And that's really where it comes from, Lucy's career. And I mean, let's just jump into the writing and directing right away with Celine Song. I think it's so gorgeously directed, this film. It looks amazing, but also just like some of the shots and the landscapes and just like the flowing movements, and when she really just lets us sit in some frames, like the first night, as you see in the trailer, the first night that Pedro Pascal's character Harry and Dakota Johnson's character Lucy get together, such a flowy atmosphere to it. And honestly, all of the dates they go on that you see in the trailer, it's just, I really love how she blocks every scene. She just is really good at blocking her scenes. And of course you would want a director to be good at blocking, but something about Celine Song, I just love how she frames her characters. She just gets us so up close and personal with them at times, and it feels so intimate, and I really love that, and I admire that. And same with her writing. Like, sure, I don't think this movie is as good as Past Lives, but it's still such a solid film that feels so self-assured. I think that's the thing I admire most about Celine Song's writing, is just how confident it feels, and that her movies know what they want to be. It never feels like in her films we're going on a path of 20 minutes where I'm like, oh, is this movie turning into something else? No, it always feels like point A to point B. The whole time we know exactly where the director wants to take us, and we are just joining her. It's not like they're figuring it out on the fly and it's like, I don't know, do people like this? It just feels very confident, and I think Celine Song is just an extremely confident filmmaker, and I can't wait for what she does next. That confidence, I specifically want to talk about the runtime and the pacing of this film. An hour and 49 minutes, hour 50 minutes, like something like that. The confidence really comes through in how much you're enjoying every beat of the story. Like it always feels like it knows where it wants to be, where it needs to be. It's cutting parts that need to be cut, and you're really moving away from scenes when you've had the perfect amount of time. I never felt like I wanted more out of certain things or less out of certain things. I really felt like it delivers at all the right moments, and that's exactly what I loved about this. And I will say, like, Celine Song's writing in this being a romantic comedy with some other elements, but I feel like it is a little bit meta or actually not meta. I would say it's more tongue-in-cheek in a way. Like, it's trying to be playful about the romantic comedy genre, or it almost feels like it has comments, or it's like referencing, I guess it is a little bit meta, talking about rom-coms with love interests that are absolutely perfect, and it's like, these people don't exist. There's a line in this movie, it's something along the lines of, I can't remember, but it's like, it's not that you're not handsome, you just don't have money, or something like that. And I really love how, yeah, like, beauty can be bought in a lot of ways, and especially today, I mean, beauty is very much bought, and specifically it's pushed onto younger women beauty standards that you need to get lip fillers and you need to get Botox at extremely younger and younger ages, I feel like. And it's just specifically, I don't know, this is a bit of a tangent, but watching Survivor recently, like, some of the women on the show, and the men for that matter, they're like 40, but they look today, they would look 50 or 60, because we've just been slowly in the last 20 years like pushing people to, I don't know, maybe take better care of themselves and age themselves in different ways. But also, I just think there's so many cosmetic things in society now that people do to look younger. This movie's really taking some interesting stances, or not stances, but just playfully talking about cosmetic things and additions to ourselves that I really enjoyed. And I just like how many conversations this movie is trying to open up, and what it's trying to comment on in the modern dating world as well, that like they're assets. And I also just love part of the story and the writing, Lucy's job, that she is this matchmaker, which I feel like in real life, are matchmakers even a thing? I don't know. That's such an interesting career choice for a story, for this woman that's very ambitious, and, you know, she sets up love in her real life, but she can't really crack it down in her own life. And I thought it's a really interesting gateway into our story, of looking at this story through a matchmaker's eyes, and how, I don't know, how she's kind of at odds with her own methods, and it's just really interesting, and she is very ambitious. Okay, it's hard not to compare this to Past Lives. I mean, specifically because it's not only her second film that she's ever made, Celine Song, but I only watched it like 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and so I just want to talk about Past Lives in comparison to this film, her second film, which are they're very different. Past Lives is like a romantic drama. This is a romantic comedy, even though some might not find it funny. I thought it was a hilarious movie, to be honest. I definitely felt like with Materialists, I didn't walk away questioning so much, or really feeling like like I need to sit with it more, or I need more time to think about it. I feel like I did want to digest my feelings of the film, and I only saw this 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago. I saw it at 4:10 today. It's now 10 p.m. So I haven't even had a day to sit with it, but like the more I'm sitting with it, the more I like it, and I actually think it's a really beautiful, and specifically the rewatchability of Materialists is going to be very high. I think it's going to be a very popular rom-com that a lot of people enjoy. Versus Past Lives, I watched it, and like the ending, everything gave me so many feelings, and at first I was like, I thought it was great but not perfect, and then I rewatched it this week, and just revisiting it, you know, it also depends where you are in your life, and just sitting with so many emotions in Past Lives, I was like, oh my god, this movie is so complex and just a beast like nothing else. Like I honestly don't think there's many other romantic dramas like Past Lives, and just like what a directorial debut / writing film debut. Versus, you know, Materialists, I think it's a little bit more point A to point B, and it's not trying to be as crazy of a journey. I think there are fun twists in this, but it's not like so mind-blowing and life-changing and just feels larger than life like Past Lives is. And I think also maybe the dialogue, I do think there is very beautiful dialogue and very lovely dialogue, but it's not like Past Lives, where I think the use of Korean and English and having these different personalities in different languages and like Inyon and like these different like philosophical meanings and sayings is just adds a lot of complexity to Past Lives. Versus because this whole movie Materialists is in English, you're sort of like losing a layer of that, which is a little like, I don't think it's bad, it's just that it's different and it's not as beautiful as Past Lives. Like I found myself just when I was watching it a few days ago, I was honestly rewinding a couple times just to hear certain lines again, because I was just like, oh my god, that was gorgeous. Versus in this, I was like, oh, there's a lot you can really take away from this movie, and I look forward to going back and watching it, but I'm not like stopped in my tracks of like how gorgeous the dialogue is. So I don't know, it's still very good writing. Okay, enough of the comparisons with Past Lives. Let's talk about like what is this movie actually trying to get at? What is it trying to talk about? And I'm not going to spoil anything and give like specific examples from the film. I just want to sort of talk about what you're going to be going into when you see this movie. I think it's trying to talk about in life, there's compatibility and there's love. There's criteria and then there's fulfillment. In relationships, they are not like business deals where it's like, well, I could be with this person because it just makes sense and we are compatible and, you know, it would be easy, but is there love in that? Is there like that really challenging spark that's going to make you excited to get up every day and you look forward to being with that person every single day? Because that is what this movie is about. It's about those two competing love interests and that ex-boyfriend that's flawed, but at least you loved each other. Versus Harry is like a very charming and challenging guy and they like each other a lot and they have a very interesting relationship. And I just really loved the themes that they are dueling with here, and Celine Song really pits them against each other really well. And it's a fun ride to experience. And love is all that matters. It's not a business deal. It's not just traits and aspects and cosmetic material things that you're looking for in people. You're looking for an actual partner to live your life with, and you're looking for a connection. And I loved it. I loved what it had to say about love and compatibility and being partners in crime, you know? But also, like, what's this movie trying to say? Dakota Johnson said herself, quote, "It would be so lovely if Materialists ignited a sense of hope in people, especially about love. Loving someone is the most scary and beautiful thing you can do." Like, yeah, love is a gamble. Love is about compromise and working at it every single day. And, you know, you're pushing each other and you're trying to learn. And it's really gorgeous. And I love what this movie has to say about that. And I don't know, there's just so many interesting themes, like the pickiness of modern dating and people that are using these apps with so many different traits that are just advertised, like features of a car, you know, or just over ambitious people or over picky people that have just raised their standards for some reason, even though they're not that much of a catch and they're flawed. And I think this movie is really about us accepting our own flaws and realizing we aren't just numbers and materials. And I really love that. Let's get into 2 Stars and a Wish. If you don't know, 2 Stars and a Wish, every time in high school we gave presentations, you would give the presenter 2 stars and a wish, 2 stars being 2 things that you liked about the presentation, the wish being a healthy criticism or something they maybe could have done better. My first star for Materialists, just great writing. I think Celine Song has such a beautiful way with words and language and love and feelings and emotions, and she has such a way of bringing like poetry to screen. It's just so gorgeous to hear and experience, and I don't know, it just feels like a warm hug. That's the best way I can define it. Star number 2, I think think it's just nice to have a great complex rom-com like this. Just a nice love story recently that's not trying to be so over the top slapstick. It's just funny, but it's taking its subject matter very seriously, and it's actually trying to say something about modern love and dating. My wish? I don't know. I don't really have any major wishes. Maybe just a little more complexity or deep things that I could question after the film was done. I don't know, maybe more to walk away with versus Past Lives. I walked away and like my brain was exploded and I was like, I don't know, I need to sit with this for a while. Versus this, I was like, yeah, I think I got it when I walked out. But look, overall, I really liked Materialists. It's not the most revolutionary work you'll see, but it's so freaking solid, and it's just some historic filmmaking. Like Celine Song, guys, I think we have a major filmmaker on our hands. The fact that her first two movies have been so exceptional, I'm so excited for what she's going to do next. And she's Canadian legend in the making. I'm so excited for what she's going to do next. If you're a big suck like me and you love movies about love, go watch this. Go watch Past Lives, then go watch this, because you will be so happy. I gave Materialists 4 out of 5 stars. Let's jump into spoilers. All right, let's talk some spoilers for Materialists. So I want to talk about the start of the film and something that is used a little bit later in the film. They show like the early humans, I guess cavemen you could call them, and like the marriage of a man and a woman, like the earliest man and woman. And I thought it was such an interesting way to open the film and trying to show that like love has always been about connections. And the cavemen had literally nothing to their names. Like they lived in a cave and they just have these nice little flowers, and I love the use of the caveman making a little ring out of the flowers and putting it on the cave woman's finger, and at the end John does that with Lucy. I just thought it was just interesting how they use that, because at the end Lucy says, I've been thinking about how the cavemen would fall in love or something. Like, I don't know, it's just really gorgeous, and it's nice to sort of break it up and talk about the evolution of love in the world, and I think it definitely plays into talking about modern love and how picky we've gotten. But okay, some other stuff. So Lucy and John were obviously a couple before, and I can't remember if they show it in the trailer, and I didn't want to speak about it in case they didn't, but they show like one of their early fights as a couple when they were first together, and it's all centered around money and how they're both very frustrated by the fact that they were broke, they were in their 20s, and it's them driving to an anniversary dinner. And I think it's pretty early in the film. I want to say it's like when she goes to, it's when she first is with him after the wedding that he's driving her home. And I really like that they show us an argument of why they didn't end up together and like what their main issue was as a couple when they were together. It could be one thing for a rom-com to show them having a happy memory together, but I think it's way more interesting to show a bad memory together so we know why they broke up, and it immediately demonstrates to the audience that like, yeah, they weren't compatible and they had issues and that's why they broke up, instead of like, oh, they were so cute together, so you're immediately rooting for Chris Evans' character over Pedro Pascal, which I wasn't really necessarily rooting for either of the men. I was weirdly just rooting for Dakota Johnson's character Lucy. I was like, honestly, if she doesn't end up with either of them, but she at least gains some self-confidence, I would be happy with that ending of like, I'm just not ready to be with anyone because I think I need to learn how to love myself. Honestly, you go, Lucy. I would have been supportive of that. But anyways, I really like the use of flashbacks to show just that one time, and that's the only flashback they have with the two of them. And then a lot of the film, it's interesting how much they really focus on her financial insecurities, that she's really like working in life to be financially stable. She has debt. She dropped out of college. And I love how honest she is about that, specifically at the end when her and John are at that wedding that they crash with his catering company, that she says like, you should not be with me. I'm a financial mess, and like, you're not the only broke one, and it doesn't make sense that we're together because, you know, I have all this debt. I dropped out of college. I really loved it, how honest this movie is about like, a lot of the time people sometimes don't end up together because of money, and it's kind of a taboo, icky subject, but a lot of people, not just women, but lots of people just want to be with someone that's rich because it could make their life way more comfortable. And I like the conversation this movie is having around financial insecurities and financial stability and how much that really plays into building a steady life together. And I think it never takes Lucy into an icky moment where you're like, she's too focused on money, because she's so honest about it that she is in a tough financial situation and she has her own financial baggage. So she would like someone that can just like honestly take care of her and she knows it'll be okay. Versus some of her clients, the way they were talking about, oh, I need a guy that's making at least 200 grand a year before taxes and all that stuff, and like 500K, stuff like that. And I really like the turn she takes at one point of telling them, you need to lower your expectations because that's never going to happen. And I don't know, it's just, there's a lot of really interesting discussions about value, both monetarily, but just emotionally. And there's one line they use twice in the film. Lucy at the start of the film is going to one of her clients' weddings, and it's going to be her 9th successful wedding for a match that she's made. And it's really interesting because the bride is getting cold feet right before the wedding. So all the bridesmaids ask her, can you come talk to her? And she's like, why do you want to marry this guy? And the bride's like, look, I always thought I was going to be a modern woman. Why the hell am I getting married? I don't need this, but can I tell you like my deepest, darkest secret? And that's when I sort of was really bought into the story. Oh, we're going to get very honest answers about people's relationships and why they are with people. Sometimes, and I know it's hard for some people to believe, I've been in a relationship for 10 years because I actually like my partner and I have loved them for a long time. It's not just like, oh, well, it's comfortable and it's convenient. But some people in this world marry because it's convenient. And that is, I think, something that's like admirable that this movie is talking about. That it's just saying, look, not everyone is in it for love in life. Some people just want to be comfortable. And I love the bride's answer that she's like, I'm with this guy because he makes my sister jealous and makes me feel bigger. And Lucy says to her, he makes you feel valuable. And I thought that was such like a beautiful, like kind of nice way to put it. But then later in the film, Harry is kind of interrogating her on the date of like, well, why do you like me? Like, there's so many other guys that you could be with. And she is like, you're a unicorn in my industry. People think you're a perfect 10 out of 10. Why are you with me when there's so many girls I could set you up with? And she says to Harry, Lucy says this, she's like, you make me feel valuable. And that's when I knew, oh, there's not actually love in this relationship. This is not going to work out for them. And I mean, it shouldn't have worked out with Harry's brother, who marries the bride from the start of the film. But guys like Harry are just asset guys. They're not actually like charming love guys, I guess. And it's, I don't know, it's just that line of making someone feel valuable is very interesting because John makes Lucy feel valuable in a very different way. She feels valuable as a person, I think, when she's with John, that she feels like she's smart and capable and challenges someone, versus when she's with Harry, she feels valuable in a monetary sense, that she's like, oh, I have the money and the lifestyle that I can be comfortable with. So I don't know. It's just, again, Celine Song, you've charmed me. Your writing is fantastic. I absolutely love her writing in every scene. And I think I mentioned it in the non-spoilers, but all of the date scenes with Harry and Lucy where they're at these restaurants, and I love how Celine Song shoots in restaurants, how she blocks everyone, and it's all this kind of moody lighting, and it's not really like open, full in front of windows. It's all sort of lamps and corners and stuff like that. And I really liked watching Lucy and Harry's dates because to me, there actually is so much chemistry. And you know what? They could have ended up together and they would have been a nice couple and they would have been cute and they would have been like good friends that are married. And they are actually both very kind people, in my opinion. And I liked that. And their dates, I wasn't watching their dates like, oh, they shouldn't be together. She should be with Chris Evans, that character. I was like, you know what? They actually do have something that they like about each other. And I think they actually do have feelings for each other, but it's not love. And that was the big difference. In comparison, like her and John, they're clearly from the same world. They butt heads, but they make each other think and they challenge each other. And that's way more valuable, I think, than just financial security and feeling like, oh, well, at least my bills will all be paid and I'll be treated like a queen. But like, you're not ever going to get that authentic spark. And sure, maybe some people aren't looking for that in life, but it's just, I really love the conversations that Celine Song is opening up here. I also enjoyed how much they're talking about the cosmetic upgrades of people. So I've never heard this mentioned in a movie or TV show ever, but leg extending surgery where you can make yourself taller. So she talks about at the start of the film that like, oh, well, these guys, like if they have enough money, they can go to Turkey and get this leg surgery. Maybe she didn't specifically mention Turkey, but I know they do it there. Same with the hairline stuff. Like, so it's very interesting that Pedro Pascal's character, you know, he's a unicorn, but he wasn't naturally a unicorn. And that's actually the night they break up, she realizes like there is no perfect guy. So why not just be with a guy that's already flawed and isn't, you know, cosmetically upgrading himself? Or there's like nothing wrong with that. She says she has a boob job and she has a nose job. And I don't know, I just like their honesty in that moment of saying the stuff that they've had done. I think that was the moment that she realized, if I'm going to be with someone who has never never been perfect. I would rather be with John, and I really loved their breakup was just very lovely and peaceful and so adult. There's no screaming match. There's no argument. It's just two people realizing, I don't think we're the ones for each other. And I think another kind of nice thing about this movie is Harry's relationship with Lucy and Lucy being with Harry and almost getting engaged to him. When I walked away from the movie, I didn't feel like that relationship was a mistake. I feel like Harry actually did help Lucy see her own value, maybe work out her own personal values of like what she wants in life and what she actually needs and what's good for her and what challenges her, and that, you know, money isn't going to solve everything. Grass isn't always greener on the other side, as they say. So I liked that Harry is kind of an important step, and he even tells her in the restaurant, I want you to see your value. I think she ends up getting that over the relationship. She doesn't get marriage to him, but she does get marriage from someone else, and it's really nice that we don't just have like, oh, the trashed ex-boyfriend, and then she meets this rich guy and he's everything, but then they have this extreme burnout breakout. It's like, no, it's just an honest breakup where they both realize maybe we aren't the ones for each other, and then she ends up with John in the end. Like, he's not perfect either, John. He's very direct. He's very frustrating. He gets stressed out over stupid things, like he says, but he says to her, I'm gonna love you forever, and that's all that matters. And it's so nice in that moment. The two of them, I think that's just such a lovely conversation they have at the end, and you know, they get their happy ever after. And I just like that this movie ends on an optimistic note, and I love what Dakota Johnson said about this movie trying to be a hopeful message about love and dating and romance in the world, that it's not just all numbers and figures and statistics and traits. Some people, you can think they would never be the right person for me, but then you meet and you're so perfect for each other because of some weird, I don't know, spiritual, soulful connection, whatever you want to call it. There's something about it that you just are meant for each other, and there's a spark there that happens, and it's really beautiful to see in this movie. I think that's all I got for spoilers. Honestly, just a gorgeous, gorgeous film that I do want to watch again. I really do want to watch again. We are on a very good streak with movies. 9 or 10 episodes in a row where we've been reviewing good things, and episode 64 was a Minecraft movie. What an emotional journey it's been. I'm looking forward to everything else. I think we have some good stuff coming up, but for now, The Materialists, 4 out of 5, very good. Let's get into what else I watched. Alrighty, what else I watched? I have 8 movies, 3 TV shows, and 2 books to talk about today for you. My God, it's been a busy week. Let's start with the books. I've read Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Teen Titans. So the first volume is A Kid's Game. Volume 2 is Family Lost. I've absolutely adored them. Jeff Johns wrote both of them. Jeff Johns is like becoming my favorite comic writer. Everything I've read by him, I've loved. Whether it was, I think I read a Flash comic by him. I've read a few Green Lantern books by him. I've read a Justice League book by him. I've really loved it all, and Teen Titans is so good. I love Deathstroke. I love the Cult. I love all of these different heroes coming together. Go check out my social media reviews for the comic series on TikTok, Instagram, right here on the YouTube channel, or wherever on my socials. A lot of fun, but I want to hop into the TV shows now. I watched a couple episodes of Justice League, really focused on the Green Lanterns, which I liked a lot. It was just, I had no TV shows that I was watching, and I thought I was waiting on my girlfriend to start Survivor season 4, but she actually went ahead without me, so touche. And then I started a new Apple TV show called Murderbot. It has one of the Skarsgårds, Alexander Skarsgård, I think that's the one. It's a comedy about this like galactic robot that hacks his own software, and he just gets addicted to like soap operas and TV shows. It's super funny. It really reminds me of Last Man on Earth. It's not like the best comedy I've ever watched, but it's a very good background show that I've been watching while doing things. Like I just have it on while I'm folding laundry or something, and it's just very funny. I think the Skarsgård, Alexander Skarsgård, he's really dying to do comedies. I mean, his first role was in Zoolander, so he's a naturally funny dude, but I mean, you know, we all know the Swedish are very funny. That's sarcastic. The Swedish are very serious people like the Finnish, but it's great. I think it has a really funny cast. It has David Desmalchian. I can never say his last name right, but he's really funny in it too. But then today I actually started Survivor Season 4 Marquesas, which is of course the first Boston Rob season. They gave them no food at the start. Monday, the day this comes out, I have a Survivor Africa video coming out on my social medias. Look forward to that, where I'm going to really dive into my thoughts on brutality of Survivor Season 3. But first movie I watched, The Virgin Suicides, Sofia Coppola. A really like interesting and kind of creepy, almost cultish feeling movie. I love the just gorgeous, angelic imagery of all of the daughters. So it's just a really fun, I don't know, exploration of how angry teenagers get at the world, specifically specifically now, just everything that's happening in LA right now and across the US. Sofia Coppola, I really liked Priscilla, and I was like, oh, I want to go back and kind of watch some earlier ones. And my girlfriend's like, oh, well, The Virgin Suicides, that's like a very, I don't know, widely commented on film on TikTok or something like that. So she actually chose it. Great recommendation. It's from the year 2000, the year we were born. I gave it 4 stars, would totally recommend. Then I made a trip to the cinema this week, surprise, surprise, and watched 2 films in one night, starting with Dangerous Animals, the shark attack movie with Jai Courtney, Hassie Harrison, and Josh Houston. I'm going to be brutally honest. Just because you are good looking does not mean you can act. I'm talking to you, Josh Houston and Hassie Harrison. 2 of the cheesiest and worst performances I have seen this year, up against Jai Courtney, who is one of the most fun performances. I think what I have such a problem with Hassie Harrison is she's so just stiff and boring throughout the movie, and she's just not good and cannot emote. She can't ever like raise emotions in the film. Whenever she's screaming, it still feels like she's so deadly serious and the same as before, and there's no passion. And Josh Houston, I've seen him in a couple things now, like Dune Prophecy. He was in Thor Love and Thunder, I think. Honestly, a terrible actor. I had some fun with it, but it's just I couldn't get past the bad performances. It kind of keeps going. She just keeps escaping and getting pulled back, and it was like, this is too much. 2.5 stars. Then, just today, I posted a review on social media for The Phoenician Scheme. Look, I'm not a huge Wes Anderson fan. I say that even though I've seen a bunch of his movies and liked them all. I liked The French Dispatch, Isle of Dogs, Fantastic Mr. Fox. I love all 3 of those. Never seen Grand Budapest Hotel, but a lot of his movies I have liked. I very much disliked Asteroid City. I thought it was him really pushing into his shtick at a time when everyone was trying to do these Wes Anderson spoofs on fucking TikTok that just ruined the aesthetic for me. But look, I had low expectations going to The Phoenician Scheme, but within the first 5 minutes, I was very on board. It's funny as hell. Benedict Cumberbatch has one of like the craziest looks in this movie that was so funny to me, but I had low expectations. And even if I think it's a massively flawed movie, that still, there's a couple scenes in it, specifically with Scarlett Johansson and Jeffrey Wright. Whenever they show up on screen, it feels like Wes Anderson doing Wes Anderson on TikTok. And I'm like, ugh, I'm hating this. But then there's other times where it feels like, oh, we're getting away from Wes Anderson being so strict, and we're letting Michael Cera be goofy. We're letting Mia Thrapelton have a bedazzled pipe and all this stuff. And it's fun. Didn't totally hate it. I didn't completely love it. 3 out of 5 stars because it was just a funny movie that I enjoyed. Then Predator, Killer of Killers. I had no clue it was coming out this week, or it came out last weekend. I loved Prey, the previous one with Amber Midthunder. Is that her name? I loved that one. And I think it's so cool taking Predator and putting the Predators into like different time periods. And Predator, Killer of Killers has such a cool combination. The sword, the shield, and the bullet, or the gun, the bullet, right? Something like that. That you get this samurai timeline, you get a Viking timeline, and you get a World War II pilot timeline. I loved the combination of all 3. I think the pilot one was maybe the least entertaining, just because I think the kills didn't translate as much in the planes, but the samurai one was one of the like coolest 30 minutes of a movie that we've ever seen, other than the ending of Mission Impossible 2. Just give me a live action, or honestly, no, give me an animated, I don't care. Just give me a samurai full-length Predator movie. Loved it. You guys gotta check out Predator, Killer of Killers. I gave it 4 stars. It's on Disney and Hulu. Go watch it. Then I rewatched Past Lives, and it freaking broke me. When I watched it in theaters, I was like, I liked it, but there was something that just didn't click for me yet. Past Lives, a movie about questioning what you've done with your life. It broke me. Honestly, I was so shaken. I finished it, and I didn't even go upstairs, and like, I didn't even walk away from the TV for probably 40 minutes. I just kind of sat there. A gorgeous movie. Honestly, one of the best movies of the 2020s. It straight up is. It's such a gorgeous, gorgeous story about the complexities of love and the difficulties of past loves and questioning whether we are in the right place in our life. And I just love the quote, it's like planting 2 trees in one pot, our roots needing to find their place. That's what Nora just says to Hai Sung about her and her husband fighting. 5 stars. It's literally a masterpiece. It is a perfect film. Huge vibe change that we're about to have. I watched How to Train Your Dragon, the original. Honestly, it wasn't that special to me. I don't know. I wasn't that mind blown with it. I don't know. Some of the jokes, I was like, yeah, okay, it's a kid's movie. But I will say Toothless. I would die for Toothless. Hiccup. I think voicing Hiccup with Jay Baruchel is interesting. There's times where I'm like, this is the most annoying voice ever, and it sounds like a 40-year-old man. It's cute. I only watched it because I'm seeing the live action one, which I'm absolutely dreading. And I've heard it's fine. Like, it's literally just screen to screen, a perfect adaptation frame to frame. They don't really do anything different. So I'll let you know how I like the other How to Train Your Dragon. But honestly, this one, 4 stars. All right, 2 other films that I haven't seen before that are DC films. First up is Wonder Woman 1984. Why is that movie so long? It's 2 hours, 30 minutes. I feel like every scene goes on 5 minutes longer than it should. I like the first one. Like, I think it's pretty solid, even if the CGI is terrible, which the CGI is pretty rough in this one too. But this one, Wonder Woman 84, is just so dull. It's overstuffed. It's overcrowded. There's too many characters. I think doing Barbara and Maxwell Lord it's too much. Just focus on one villain. And that's one thing I'm going to talk about in a video coming soon, is DC villains in the DCEU. I don't know. It's just kind of a bit of a clusterfuck of a sequel. I think, honestly, Pedro Pascal, I think he's good in it. He's kind of fun, and he's the most fun element of the movie, other than Steve Trevor just being like blown away by the 80s and the stuff they have. I liked that stuff. There's pulses of a great movie in there somewhere, but it feels so bogged down and kind of doing too much. I gave it 2.5 stars. Nothing special. I didn't really love it. Then last night, very late at night, I watched Shazam! Fury of the Gods, another film from DC I had not seen. It kind of blew me away how many films I missed DCEU related when I went to university, because I've said before, at university I lived like an hour bus ride away from the movie theater, so I was way more of a TV and streaming person. Then I watched a lot of good TV in university, and I still watched tons of movies, but only when they came out on video on demand. I still saw movies a lot in the summer, but during the school year it was more difficult. But then Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I remember this came out in 2023, so I just skipped it. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I've never seen the original. I don't trust the DCEU now that I know it's ending and James Gunn is just gonna get rid of it all. So it felt very flat and just kind of charmless and very gray and plasticky, I have to say. The CGI was just very washy in this film. Everything is just so flat and green screen and doesn't have any texture and depth to every frame. So yeah, 8 movies, 3 TV shows, and 2 books this week. But yeah, that's been what else I watched. And in fact, I think that's going to do it for episode 74. My God, it's almost 11 p.m. I need to go inside and pack. But as for now, that has been episode 74, Materialists. A lot of fun. Like, I honestly cannot wait to rewatch this movie. As always, however, please rate and review the show 5 stars wherever you get your great podcasts like Watcher of All Things, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Acast. We are, of course, an Acast-produced show. If you were on the YouTube channel, which, once again, we hit 300 subscribers, I want to thank you all so much again, and I've been getting so much love and feedback off of the Mission Impossible video. Go check that out if you haven't already. Please like, subscribe. What did you think of Materialists? Do you like it better than Past Lives? Do you like it worse? What's your favorite DCEU movie? I've been watching a lot of those. How do you feel about these live action remakes? Because honestly, they're just bumming me out. You can also email the show to get in touch with us, watcherofallthings@gmail.com, and find me on social media. The Instagram and Threads are at watcherofallthings. The TikTok is at watcher.of.all.things. Follow me on all of those good platforms. I post every day on social media. Also follow my personal Letterboxd account, KikiJ70. That's KIKIJ70. Follow me. Drop a comment under one of my reviews that you found me through the show. I'll follow you back. Let's build a little community. Next week, 28 years later. This is a movie a lot of people have been looking forward to. A Danny Boyle film. I'm very excited for it. I'm going to watch the first 2 because I've never seen them. Hopefully the first one is on streaming somewhere. I think it is. Otherwise, I'll just buy it video on demand, I'm sure, or I'll have to stream it less than legally. But thank you all so much for listening, for all the love, all the inspiring stuff and inspiration I get from you guys. You guys are the best. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.